because if everybody understood it, Bitcoin would be $1 billion a coin, at least 1 billion with a B. So if you have 73 million Satoshis, which is a lot, if you got 73 million sats, you're in the top 0.001% on the planet. And this is if it's distributed evenly, which it's not.
One full Bitcoin, no, even 0.73 Bitcoin puts you in the top 0.001% of people. Yes, it seems really, really weird and crazy to say that right now because Bitcoin is so early and obviously 0.73 Bitcoin is only about like 50 grand and that doesn't put you in an extremely wealthy category. But if Bitcoin becomes, and I strongly believe that, and Jerry, who's also on the podcast today, believes that, in that case, then Bitcoin will be so valuable that even a fraction of a coin will buy you all the freedom, all the homes, all the things that you ever wished for. And this is not a wet dream of Bitcoiners. This is just purely math. And Jerry and I going to dive into today why this math checks out and why 0.73 Bitcoin is a massive load on Satoshis. Enjoy. People lost the sight with all the noise around AI, about the SpaceX thing, about other distractions within Bitcoin, with the BIP110 thing, the cold cut thing. I think they are gathered with so many noisy things around them that they forgot how valuable and scarce and how amazing Bitcoin is. That's what I wanted to start with today, where what you think is the value of Bitcoin, where do you see it going, and why it makes so much sense right now.
Yeah, this really, really reminds me of the 2022 bear market when the big crash happened in 2022, and then 2023. With the FTX stuff, and I think it was 2022, and then we just chopped in the 20s and the 30s, and it was just so boring. And I remember all my family members and friends are like, "When are you going to sell that? When are you going to get out of that?" My friends in gold were like, "Oh, see, I told you it's not going to do anything," and it just wasn't doing anything. And I didn't quite understand at that moment that I was sitting on a quote unquote gold mine, a digital gold mine. That, back then when I was, I think this is our fifth one now. I don't want to say the same things, but I was like a broken record. But I live in Las Vegas, and I was delivering food, and I was doing stuff just to make money to buy gold and silver and Bitcoin and stuff. And again, I remember trying to buy 100,000 sats a day, and I was buying, the rest with gold, the cash I had will go for gold and silver. But I remember how easy and how cheap 100,000 sats were back then. And if I knew what I knew now, I would try to get 1 million sats back then, and I wasn't thinking, oh man, this was cheap. I was thinking, man, poking it like, when's it going to go up? When's it going to go up? Not understanding what I truly had. And, I do a show every day. It's called Bitcoin Numbers and News. And I talk about, Bitcoin. I show Satoshis. And then every Saturday, I do a show called Satoshi Saturday. And in that show, I basically tell everybody, and in my other show, how many sats you can get per dollar. And I know I've talked about this on your show, but it's like right now, as of this recording, you can get 1,500 and something for $1. Well, back then, you can get over 3,000 Satoshis for $1, or 2,500 or 4,000 or whatever. That's cheap. That is very, very cheap. And when they're printing the dollars like that they are, just look at a dollar in your pocket. Just look at that dollar in your pocket and go, wow, this can get me 1,500 units of freedom.
I usually don't do that, but I think today it's actually might be fitting. We have an end routine in the podcast where the previous guest asking a question to the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And I want to do that question right now because I think it fits, and we should talk about it. And the question from the previous guest was very simple. Was what's your favorite Bitcoin price model? I mean, of course, as you might know, I recorded yesterday with Samson, so the question came from Samson. It was fun talking with him about God candles. How do you look at conviction building? Because for me, price models are like just basically I want to build my conviction. If I want to have a goal of like what is a sat buying me? What is 100 sats buying me? What is like 1,000 sats buying me in the future? How do you look at price models in general?
Well, Mr. Mao, since you asked me, I'm going to answer you, sir. Nice to meet you, Mr. Samson Mao. Well, there's a lot of different ones, and I like to look at everything in Satoshis. But as far as like a price model goes, I kind of like I don't know if it's the 4-year model or whatever, but I love looking at Bitcoin going up and adding a zero to the price every 4 years. That's the one I like, right? And it's done that so far. Even though we're in the 60s, we have hit. So again, it's a digit. It's $10, 2 digits, $100, 3 digits. First 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digits, and then 4 digits. 1,000 or more, and then 5 digits, 10,000. Last epoch, and then epoch 5, we hit 6 figures, which is 6 digits. I love that because I look at Bitcoin like it's going to be $1 million, and that's still bearish. The game doesn't start for me until it hits 1 million. So next epoch, if again the 4-year cycle or whatever you want to call it, or the price model or whatever, Mr. Mao, is there, then according to that, it should be $1 million. And at $1 million, what we talked about earlier for Satoshis, how many Satoshis you can get for $1, at $1 million, it's 100 sats. So right now I can get 1,500, almost 1,600. So that's the one I like to look at. And again, are the dollars going to be worth what they were in the previous cycle? No, they definitely are not. The purchasing power goes down, but I think looking at it like that, your Satoshi's purchasing power exponentially goes up, and that is absolutely my favorite model. Looking at everything in Satoshi's and looking at adding a digit to every cycle.
That's actually true. Wow. I've never heard that. That's like 800 episodes. I've never heard that. It's fascinating because I just checked it out. If you can see here, after the halving, this period, the first time it was around, like it started like $10, $15 and went up to like 80, 90. So it was like in the 2-digit realm most of the time. Then it went up to the 3-digit realm in the bottom here. The next one started at the 4-digit realm, 4-digit, 5-digit realm, and then like we already have the 5 to 6-digit realms. So like literally added from the starting point from the previous period to the next period, always a digit. That's a fascinating thing. So basically, we have that period right after the halving, which is always really great. Then like we have the downwards movement, then like the slowly upwards movement again, and we have that all the time. And now we're just having to wait another cycle for that $1 million Bitcoin. That's a fun one. I've never looked at that way. Like, how did you hear about that?
Well, just doing studying, looking at the inner workings of Bitcoin, and I was just in the beginning, I was just obsessed with price, and I was always comparing it to my old asset, gold and silver. And I first heard about that actual adding a zero from Oliver Velez. He talked about it as well. But I mean, he went into detail on it. I already knew it, but he went into detail on it. Oliver Velez did. I think first heard him say it in 2022 or 2023, and I was looking at it, but he explained why, and I was like, wow, that's very interesting. So when I see that, DCA is the way, guys. However way you can do it. Me personally, I buy every hour on the hour, and again, getting 1,500 Satoshi, 1,600, whatever, almost 1,600 per dollar compared to versus 100. And again, that's, in my opinion, that's when Bitcoin really starts. That model, that 4-year cycle or whatever you call it, adding a digit to each cycle. To me, that's just the best way to look at it, man, because you got to look long term. And again, I used to look at things in a year. I don't anymore. I don't do, this is my what is it? My New Year's resolution. No. This is my cycle resolution. And my cycle resolution is get as many sats as I can every single day, more sats every single hour on the hour, every day. And just making sure I'm stacking hard enough. So when I look back at myself, because your future self is coming and the future's on its way, I want to be able to look back at myself and say, yeah, I stacked hard enough. And I knew that the $1 million Bitcoin was coming, and I stacked appropriately.
Do you? I have two questions. The first one I'll start with is, why do you focus on sats? Like, why is that? Like, I want to get like when you started like 100,000 sats, but I should have gotten 1 million sats, and now like I want to stack that many sats per day. Why is the focus on sats? Why do you focus on that?
When I first got into crypto, thank God I didn't shitcoin too long. I bought February 24th, 2021. I bought, and I was stacking gold and silver at the time, like I said, and I bought a couple other S coins along with Bitcoin. And I had that unit bias in my head, right? Of, oh, I can get little, this and that. But then when I started really studying the inner workings of Bitcoin, 2 months later, I sold every crypto I had, and I didn't have a lot, and put it into Bitcoin. But from a general standpoint, I when I was stacking precious metals, I would go by not just ounces, I would go by little grams of silver, I mean gold, and then because there's 31.1 grams in a gold ounce. It's not the same as a regular ounce of 28 grams. A troy ounce is 31.1. But with silver in particular, my favorite silver was constitutional silver. And constitutional silver has historic value. It's real. It's like a real dime and a quarter. It's like you take a quarter of a constitutional silver, and it was 90% silver. But in 1964, after Kennedy was assassinated, they changed it and put all the bunch of BS. So all that stuff is counterfeit now. So I was obsessed with getting as many little units of silver as I could. So I had that baseline. So when I got into Bitcoin and I started realizing I didn't need the unit bias of the other cryptos, and I started studying who Satoshi Nakamoto is and everything else, never found out who he was, but I'm getting close though. I started really looking at Satoshis, and I'm thinking, well, Bitcoin right now is $22,000. Nobody can buy a Bitcoin, but they damn sure can buy Satoshi. So I would look at my buys and what I had in my Cash App wallet at the time when I was buying, and it would say 0.0 whatever. And I just so happened to be able to say, I want to change that. I don't like the way that looks. So I changed it from Bitcoin, the denomination, to Satoshis. And that's how I came up with, man, I'm going to get as many Satoshis as I can. So when I would teach people about Bitcoin, I would tell them that a Satoshi is basically like a infinite, not an infinite, but a very small unit, very small units of Bitcoin, like dollars. Like dollars have pennies, Satoshis are pennies to Bitcoin's dollar or whatever. But it's much more finite. You can break it up even more. So when I started teaching that, I was thinking, wow, man, how many Satoshis can I get? Right. And then I just got obsessed with them. And then one day I remember I was, I was doing my videos and stuff, and I looked up, Satoshis, and some people were talking about it. But in 2024, in February 2024, I said, you know what? I'm going to start teaching about Satoshis. And I made a Satoshi Saturday video. So first I typed in Satoshi Saturday. Nobody was making it. So one of my things are, when I do my opening of the Satoshi Saturday, I always say, welcome in Satoshi Saturday, blah, blah, blah. Then I say, I believe I'm the only one that does this, because nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about Satoshis. All I hear about is Bitcoin. So when you're looking at the word Bitcoin, even though we don't have a marketing team, that's just a marketing name. There's no such thing as a Bitcoin. Nobody buys a Bitcoin, right? It's just, what is a Bitcoin? It's just a whole bunch of units of sats. A Bitcoin is 100 million sats. What's 50 million sats? They'll say a half a Bitcoin. What's 25 million sats, right? So it's all about Satoshi. So again, get as many as you can. And as you can see with my shirt, I got the little Bitcoin there. sign, but it's all about them Satoshis. And there's nothing, again, all the units you can look at dollars, you can look at stocks, you can look at gold ounces or whatever. One thing I love about Satoshis is you know exactly how many's coming out every 10 minutes, and you know exactly how many there are. And every time you get something or get some of them, however many you get, you know exactly the percentage of money supply that you own. And I'm just absolutely 100% obsessed with Satoshis, because to me they're just the best money, because it's the most finite, and also you know exactly how many you got when you got them.
And you said something that triggered me. You said like nobody can afford a Bitcoin, and I think it's mostly true. But also then look at the average wealth in America, and look at what like the median household has. And I just looked it up. It's like if you're under 35, even the young one, the median is like 40. And like I don't like to look at the average, because the average is like the really rich one kind of blow it out of proportion. So like the median is a more realistic average, if that makes sense. And so when you look at under 35-year-old, and by the way, most of my viewers are like a little bit older than that, or quite older than that actually, that's not a full Bitcoin. But if you look at the net worth of like 45 to 55 years old, they have a 250,000. Now, there are people that have houses in that. There are people that have already stock portfolios, or maybe illiquid assets in there, but there's debt also in there, and all of those things. But I strongly believe that it's still possible for most average Americans out there to get to a full Bitcoin. And this is crazy for me to think about in 2026, because if you have an average net worth of about 250,000, you only need 60,000 of them to get a full Bitcoin. And that's not 100,000 Satoshis, that's 100 million Satoshis. So the amount of wealth that you can accumulate in Bitcoin in 2026, I think is absurd. And I don't know why not more people are realizing this massive opportunity that is laying right in front of them.
That's a great point. Um, and you're absolutely right. The problem is, because we're Bitcoiners, and I don't want to say we live in an echo chamber, but when you're into Bitcoin, there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down. And it's tough not to get down that rabbit hole, because again, even though we're talking to normies in our regular life, we're watching Robin every day, and Bitcoin videos and stuff like that, and you're studying and you're doing what you got to do. At the end of the day, even when you just think about when you first got into Bitcoin, how long did it take you in the audience to really understand what you had? Again, for me personally, and you know, when I was stacking the other stuff, the gold and the silver, I was stacking them simultaneously. And in my videos, if you go back and look, I was saying you need both, and this, that, and the third. I didn't realize till about maybe 2.5 years in that this is the only thing. And that's why I always say at the end of all my videos, it's the best way to save, and for me, the only way to save, and that's Bitcoin. Because if you really truly understood Bitcoin, this is the litmus test to me. I don't care who you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care what your net worth is. If you don't have everything in the Bitcoin, you don't understand Bitcoin fully. I know people like that. I know people that are quote unquote Bitcoin maxis, they say, meaning they don't have, there's different Bitcoin maxis. You have Bitcoin maxis that don't have any other cryptos. You got Bitcoin maxis that only stack Bitcoin. Then you have people that say, well, my portfolio is 51% Bitcoin or whatever. You're bearish. You don't understand Bitcoin, because if you understand Bitcoin, Bitcoin is money. People ask me, what is it? It's money. It is the best money that's ever been. So the question you asked, which was great, is you saw the net worth, you saw the averages, you saw the medians, but what's their averages and what's their medians on how much they understand Bitcoin in the market and what's going on with the money system? If they really truly understand what the problem is, and they look at the US debt clock, and they see the national debt and the money printer and how much we printed, and the quote unquote gold we have or don't have in Fort Knox, if they understood how the monetary system worked, Then they say, okay, we know the problem and Bitcoin is the solution. And then you have to do another rabbit hole to understand what Bitcoin is. It takes a long time to do that. That's why I said we may be too early to Bitcoin because the amount of sats you're getting. And again, when I look at the price, I don't look at it as I know it's a bear market and all this other stuff. That's just my indicator to saying, okay, people don't understand it yet. Because if everybody understood it, Bitcoin would be $1 billion a coin, at least 1 billion with a B a coin. Because again, there's only 8 billion people in the world, and there's only 21, quote unquote, 21 million Bitcoin, 100 million sats per coin. If you divided it up evenly, you'd only get 244,000 sats per person if it was divided evenly. It's not. So again, it takes a lot of studying and a lot of understanding to understand what's going on here. And the price to me is not a bearish or a bullish. It's just an indicator of understanding or not understanding what true scarcity and what true money is.
250,000 sats per person it was?
244,000. I got the bitcoinsperperson.com. If you look at that, do I have it on this page? Right here. If you want to share my screen, I got it up. Yep. There it is. So if everything was divided evenly, because as you can see, there's 20,068,890.625 Bitcoin, and there's 8.2 billion people, right? Given that a Bitcoin currently costs 63,000, there are only enough Bitcoins for every person to have $155.48 worth. If Bitcoins were distributed using the current global distribution of wealth, 99.9% of people would have about $30 worth of Bitcoin. And the top people, now listen, guys, the people in the top 0.001% would have 0.73 Bitcoin, aka 73 million Satoshis. So if you have 73 million Satoshis, which is a lot, okay? That's why I tell people million Satoshis is very valuable. If you got 73 million sats, you're in the top 0.001% on the planet. And this is if it's distributed evenly, which it's not, because we know what Seyr has. We know what the United States has. We know people have a whole bunch. Robin's got about a lot. I was going to say a number, but locked away that nobody will ever see. So think about that. So again, grab them while the getting is good because it's on sale.
Robin has about 2 sats locked away forever. There was like one episode I did where people started speculating how many Bitcoin I have, and it really ranged from 0 to like some ridiculous amount of like 200 Bitcoin. I'm like, oh gosh, like it's crazy. But anyways, this is really interesting. Because if you think about the first principles and think about, okay, what if Bitcoin is successful? Like just thinking about that question. What if Bitcoin does what we think it does, what we really believe the world will look like? What is then the outcome? I know it's a utopia. It's something like probably a good few decades away from it. So it's not something that like will happen next week, will happen next year or something like that. So there's some time duration between that. But if we really think about that from first principles, we have those 8 billion people and we only have those 21 million Bitcoin. And as you can see here also on the website, since we brought it up, the Bitcoin haven't moved because I think there's no hasn't been found. There hasn't been a new block since we threw up that website. But there has been a lot of new people produced every single day. Like there's new people produced in Austria every single day. There's new people produced in Las Vegas every single new day. There is everywhere around the world new people coming online, and those people add scarcity towards Bitcoin. It's a crazy thing to think about. The more people there are, you add scarcity to Bitcoin. So if Jerry goes ahead and says, hey, I'll I'll make another 12 kids. He adds 12 more people to the earth and makes Bitcoin with that more scarce because it's the only finite asset ever. But I think people don't realize that we have now something that will not grow. It will not grow with like 0.5%, with like 1%, or only 1.5%. Like, I think Bitcoin would be amazing and really valuable if it would grow with 0.5% also. But it doesn't. And no growth in the supply at all means every single person, every single small added abundance towards our societies, towards our earth, our living together, adds more scarcity to Bitcoin. So you make kids, more scarcity towards Bitcoin. You invent something new, like you come up with some new AI model that makes a specific use case way more efficient. You add abundance to the world, and you add scarcity towards Bitcoin, which is, I think most people don't get that, like why we are so bullish on Bitcoin, why it's so important to get those rare sats and to really have a solid stack. And that's why I brought it up. People have a median net worth of $250,000 and can put a little bit of that towards getting like 1 million sats, or like 10 million sats, or like 70 million sats to get to like 0.73, which brings you into the top 0.01% of the world. It's crazy that people don't realize that opportunity.
I know, because they don't understand the system. Yeah, 0.001%. I have a screen up here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, that's the Bitcoin halving clock, guys. And this is what I'm saying, man. Like, people don't understand how scarce this is. Right now, we're in Epoch 5, and we're getting 3.125 Bitcoin coming out every 10 minutes. We know what's coming out every 10 minutes. It's going to get halved in 1 year, 227 days, meaning it's going to be a little over 1.5 Bitcoin, 1.56 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. That's what the miners get. And what's going to happen when that happens, guys? Do you think the price is going to go up or down? It's about supply and demand, right? That's just basic economics 101. This is what I teach people. I say, look, man, I go, at the end of the day, just like Robin said, he was looking at the Bitcoin number not going up that much. It only comes out every 10 minutes, the supply issuance, but the supply of people are going up. Well, when the demand, even if the demand stayed the same in Bitcoin, which it's not, because every single day somebody's getting into Bitcoin, every day, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. I've never heard somebody really understood Bitcoin go, you know what, I'm going to go back to the US dollar where they're printing every 5 seconds, right? Never heard of that. So they're going to look at this and go, holy crap. So even if the demand stays the same, the supply gets cut in half every 4 years, every 210,000 blocks. I have this crazy thing, Robin. I live in Las Vegas, and it's kind of like a sardine can of people, because I drive a lot. There are a lot of people with a very small area. People think Las Vegas is a big area. It's not. It's people just look at the strip and they go, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful," and it's and it is down there. But there's also the outskirts where I live and stuff like that. Well, I have this thing. I'm in the car. I probably said this before on the show. I just look around and I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm just like, I think I'm the richest person out here right now. I look and go, how many people have Bitcoin and cold storage out here? And I'm stuck. I'm mad. I'm mad at the traffic. I'm sorry. All these cars going by. Like, if I want to make a left turn and all the cars are coming by, or I want to do this and all these cars, I'm like, damn. But then I stop and think, like, Jerry, hold on. All these people out here don't have sats and cold storage. And then as I'm waiting, my hourly buy goes through, and I see it come down on my screen. I go, I don't mind all the people on the road now. Because not only am I getting something scarce that they're not, but that's an opportunity. Every car that goes by, even if there was only 21 million Bitcoin in my city of Las Vegas, just for the city of Las Vegas. That's still rare. But we're talking about not for the state of Nevada, not for the West Coast, not for America, but for the entire world, guys. The entire world. If you have 250,000 sats, you have your quote unquote quota and get a million and a few million, you are way ahead of the game. That's why I say we may be too early. Either we are the smartest people in the world or we are absolute idiots. And I will pick the first one every single day. And I think we're doing the right thing because, again, Bitcoin can't be stopped. And every block that comes out, every 10 minutes is TikTok next block.
With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use Simple Mining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control. And I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together. I want to show you that. I was just curious because we cannot only look at the total amount of humans, we also have to look at how fast the humanity growing. And humanity is growing roughly, according to Gemini, with 0.85 to 0.9% per year. Now, question, how fast does Bitcoin still grow? Because we still have inflation currently in Bitcoin. I know 21 million is a hard cap, but of course we are not yet at the 21 million. So we still have every roughly 10 minutes new issuance of new Bitcoin. But we are only growing at 0.82%. So if you look at the numbers, humanity already now is growing faster than all of the Bitcoin. So every single day, just by human growth, just by adding more humans to the world, we are getting a scarcer Bitcoin. That doesn't even account for the adoption rate of Bitcoin. That doesn't account for AI using Bitcoin, for Bitcoin making AI and all the technology, the deflationary force making everything more abundant. That's just more humans coming into the system. Every Bitcoiner that gets 5 kids produces 5 more Bitcoiners. So it's amazing to see exactly that.
Yeah. And when you really look at it, and thank you for pulling this up. If you look at the supply, like we looked at earlier, we talked about the 3.125 every 10 minutes. Out of the 21 million, we almost have that already. We have 95.58% of the total of 100% of the 21 million already mined now. Satoshi's plan, the way he did this, is, again, this is why I don't think Satoshi was human, man. I'm sorry. The first epoch that came out, now again, we're epoch 5, but the first epoch that came out, he dumped in 10.5 million Bitcoin. So he dumped the supply with no demand, right? It was a high supply, no demand. But now as it keeps getting cut in half every epoch, and now we're up to 95.5, more than 95.5%, the demand is just going to go up. and the supply is exponentially going down, and then the demand will exponentially go up. So what do you think is going to happen to the price? It ain't even about the dollars, right? Don't even look at the dollars because the dollars are a fake indicator. It's really about this the purchasing power. And again, I always measure my net worth in dollars. When I look at the Forbes list and all this other stuff, I mean not dollars, Satoshis. When I look at the Forbes list and I see billionaires and millionaires, measure your wealth in sats. Measure it in sats. Truly, 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 every wallet, every exchange, every wherever that you have your quote unquote Bitcoin on, change it to Satoshis and measure your wealth in Satoshis and get as many as you can while you can. Because I'm telling you, when we're at 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, you're going to wish you stacked harder.
It's very clear where we are in the Bitcoin ecosystem and where we are in the Bitcoin cycle. And those people that are currently stacking, those people that have conviction, that don't get distracted by the AI noise, the SpaceX noise, the BIP fighting noise, the cold card incident noise, the whatever noise you kind of come up with, the Bitcoin being captured noise, the Bitcoin supply limit of 21 million will be lifted noise. Like there's a lot of different noises out there. Funny enough, most of the noise is now coming within the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's an interesting bear market. No matter what you're looking at, if you just focus on the past 43 minutes that we've done now and said, this is why Bitcoin is valuable, I'm going to stack X amount of sats every single day. And you look back at that decision in 5, 10, 15 years, and you're like, wow, am I glad that I did not dismiss it at the first sight, because many people do that, Almost everyone heard about Bitcoin. Like you talked about that car example, sitting in the car, sitting in traffic, seeing those cars pass by. Most of them at this point heard the word Bitcoin at some point, but they dismiss it. They have an opinion like, oh, that's crazy. Like, that's speculative. Like, no, this and that. Like they always have some weird thing on there. But those that actually look a little bit deeper, that take a few hours of their time out of their busy schedule and invest in a good book, listen to some podcasts, and go down the rabbit hole, they will benefit tremendously. And there's something that it really motivates me when I think about doing something that is hard or doing something that is uncommon. The less people that do it, the better and bigger the reward is. So, for example, how many people are building a business? It's very few. You're like in like 1-2% of the population kind of a thing. So already just starting your LLC and setting up a bank account and setting up a way to process payments and putting some products, some service, whatever out there, that process alone and getting $1 from some stranger on the internet already puts you in like the top 1% of all people, because most people never do that in all their lives. And now if you actually build a business that is generating profits of 10,000 a year, that puts you in a whole different category, because you now are a business owner that is profitable. I know 10K is like nothing per year, but there's not that many businesses in the world that generate a profit in a year. The number is shockingly small. So you level up in systems that are very scarce in general, as like owning a business, owning Bitcoin, doing something hard, I don't know, being a professional athlete, doing something that is very, very hard to achieve. The harder it is, the more obstacles you have along the way, the more people are not doing the thing, because all the people also going through the same shit as you are doing. Like if you start a business and you talk with business owners that have made two different companies, and they all came to like, I don't know, like $2 million in profit a year. Even if it's a completely different business, they can probably talk really nicely to each other about all that shit that they went through, because it's mostly the same one. Mostly the same obstacles, same hurdles, same things. It's actually quite, there's a lot of patterns in business. The same with Bitcoin. If you talk to two different Bitcoiners that start stacking in the same year, and they done it since the same amount of time, and they have maybe this similar size of stack, they've come to the same obstacles of like, maybe I'm wrong. Then there's a massive crash that is 60% down. Then there is the juicy gains that come on top, and you're like, maybe I'm gonna buy a car. Maybe I'm gonna buy that home. Maybe I'm gonna do this and that. And so if you just hold through, and you are stacking as hard as possible, and you push through those obstacles where other people would have quit on the other side, you just have to tell yourself, this is where my position gets more scarce. This is where my position gets more rewarded in the long run, because other people would have not done that. And so I'm always a big fan of doing very hard things for a very long time, because it makes not only for a better story if you're like 80 years old and have grandkids, but it also makes you literally a more valuable human being. It makes you a more scarce human being, because you are achieving things that that others are not willing to sacrifice things for.
Wow. I love that, man. I honestly, that was great. I feel the exact same way. Very, very well put, Robin. You know, it's crazy. When I started this YouTube channel, I never thought about making money, right? I was doing some stuff, and we were talking behind the scenes on what I want to do with the YouTube channel. But I've always, since I've been doing the Bitcoin videos, I've had goals on what I wanted someone to do when they heard me, right? And one of my things is, I'm so bullish, and I'm so like Satoshi driven, and so um, scarcity driven. I want people to, when they hear me, and again, I like to meet people where they're at, but I always talk to Bitcoiners. I want them to hear me and go, damn, I got to smash buy. Like, I'm going to smash buy because I listened to Jerry. Or, man, I'm going to bring my DCA up more. Or, man, I got to talk to more people about Bitcoin. Those are my three things when I talk to Bitcoiners. Smash buy, increase their DCA, and talk to other people for adoption. But now, because I don't want to just talk to Bitcoiners. I'm changing. I'm going through an evolution where my main thing is, okay, I'm going to talk to Bitcoiners, but I also want to get the new people in. Now, it's funny that you brought that up, and I'm going to ask you a question, Robin, about being rare and scarce, and we were talking about being basically monetized in YouTube. Let me ask you a question, Robin. I want you to look this up. What do you think the percentage is of people that are monetized on YouTube? Don't look it up. I want you to give me a number. Out of all the YouTube channels.
So every single YouTube channel, how many of them are, is there a threshold? Do YouTube channels that have 0 subscribers and like uploaded one video count? Do channels count that have not uploaded a video?
No, just because there's about 115 million YouTube channels. I don't know if that counts with them. What percentage of them do you think are monetized?
I would get a wild guess. Let's say there is like 500,000 YouTube channels that are monetized. What is the percentage out of like 100 million? That's like
Very small.
very small. Like a million would be 1%. So like, let's say 0.45%.
That's a good guess. Let's look it up real quick. And while you're doing that, sometimes I'm looking at my YouTube monetization and I'm like, oh man, I'm trying to get this and I'm not making that. But then I realize, like you said, how rare we are. Not only am I a Bitcoiner, but I'm monetized on YouTube. I'm saying this to you guys, not to brag or nothing, because believe me, my paycheck ain't nothing to brag about. Okay. I'm saying that I very highly encourage people to make YouTube videos and channels and do the best you can to go out there and talk to people about Bitcoin. Now, you don't have to be a Bitcoin expert, but you at least have to do what you do best. You don't have to be the best, but do what you do the best. You got it, Robin?
I got it. And actually, I was more bearish than I there's 3 million out there. Wow, that's a good number. The creator economy is actually growing quite nicely. I'll have to bring that up to stage. Here you go. So yeah, 115 million total channels, and about 3% of them are monetized, which is 3 million creators. Yeah, like 500,000 was not bad, but like it was way too bearish. 3 million, that's great. I love that. There's 3 million people that make some money with YouTube. Now there is the other question: how many people can live on those those? Because like most people probably make not even like $500. Probably most people make like under $100, because it's not easy to make a good amount of living on YouTube ad revenue. If you ever thought about making a living on YouTube ad revenue, it's a very hard path. It's way easier if you actually have a product or something or service to sell, and maybe you own that even. If you have that monetization framework, you'll way quicker make a living off YouTube before even the ad revenue. You come to the point where you can even turn off the ad revenue because it doesn't make really a difference to your monetization.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm definitely not one of those people that make a living off of YouTube. I'm one of those people. But I will say this though. So when I'm down, I'm like, oh man, only made, this amount or blah, 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 blah. Because the threshold for YouTube to get a paycheck, to give you some nuts and bolts, is $100. You got to make $100 to get a paycheck. And let's just say there's some few months that I have to wait on that to get the $100. But I will say this: it ain't all about the money, bro. Right? It is about getting in that top 2.5%, 3.5%. And if you can do that, and again, it's not about making a bunch of money on YouTube, obviously, but if you can start yourself a YouTube channel, and I'm saying this because they're changing the threshold. Did you see that too, Robin? They changed it.
Yeah, I think the watch hours went from 4K to 5K, from 4K to 8K now.
Yeah. So you got to have 1,000 subscribers, and I'm telling you this so you can get on this, right? You need 1,000 subscribers, which is not that hard. It's not easy, but it's not that hard. And then you need 8,000 watch hours as of February 1st, 2027. So you got till now, until February 1st, 2027 to get 4,000. Once you get your 4,000 watch hours for a 12-month period, a year, and get your 1,000 subscribers, you will be monetized and locked in. I'm bringing that up simply because of this. If you do that, you're in the top 2.5 to 3.5% of all YouTubers on the planet. Period. And like Robin said, you have to be a very consistent, very different, very cut from a crazy cloth person to do that. And again, I look at myself sometime not just as a Bitcoiner, but I'm also monetized on YouTube and making videos and stuff like that. The reason I'm here right now on Robin's show and everything else is because I'm doing something not spectacular or nothing, but I'm doing something consistently every single day. And Robin noticed it, other people notice it, and you can notice that too. Again, you don't have to be the best at what you do, but you can do what you do best. Every single person on the planet has a gift, right? I can talk. My brother, who's got the same DNA as me, cannot talk, but he can fix everything. If you ask me to fix something, it's going to stay broke. It ain't going to get fixed. If you ask him to explain something, it's going to be unexplained. He can't explain it. So your gift that God gave you, get on camera and show it to everybody. And while you're doing it, say, oh, by the way, I'm a regular guy. I'm doing this. This is how I make it my income. And this is how I save, because the system is broken and blah, 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 blah. And Bitcoin is the way. So again, I'm not telling you to make $1 million on YouTube, but consider starting a YouTube channel before February 1st. Make that threshold and get monetized.
I'll make it more general. I think there are so many different ways to earn a living now. It was never as easy to be a millionaire as it is right now, because I mean, it's there's also and now there's the Bitcoin coming out of that. It was also never as bad to be a millionaire right now. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, with like 12 years old, being a millionaire was like, wow, like you had all those things. Now a millionaire is still something big to achieve. It's still like a dream of mine, but it's not something that is like, wow, you've made it. If I make the calculations of like, if you have 1 million, how long this lasts, and what if you want to buy a home, like it's gone really quickly. But that besides, it was never that easy to actually earn money with the thing that you're actually loving to do. Like if you have a specific skill, you can work remotely for many different companies, because now with AI, you can literally build up companies with there's just you and it's just one person that are worth 1 million, 10 million, $50 million. Those companies exist and they are working. There are companies out there that make huge amount of revenue, more revenue that previously needed like 10, 15 teams, because AI makes you way more efficient in doing things. And so it was never as easy to do what you actually love to do and not just be stuck at a job that has no real end except of pension and dying. So I wouldn't even go a little bit further, completely outside of the content creation. Even though if you have a business, I think content creation is just a pillar, because what is content creation? It's distribution. And so if you have a product or service, first build that, but at some point you will figure out that you need distribution, and you benefit a lot if you have an audience, if you have people to talk to. Even if you are just a builder, a fixer, someone that actually does something, figure out how to talk. Talking is not something, I don't know if you agree with that, but I don't think talking is something that you are born with. Get over the fact that people might throw a tomato at you, and learn how to talk. It's a skill that you can actually learn. Some people are better in it, some people are worse in it, but it's mostly just training, exercise, and then fear. If you train and exercise enough in it and get over the fear, you can. I tell you that because in school, I fell through my English exam. I was horrible in English. I had to repeat a class because I was so bad in English, and not like in America or England or so. Like it was in Austria, English class. So you can pass the English exam in Austria without even being able to talk English. It's not a hard exam. I was just an idiot. I with like 14, 15 years old, I gave book presentations in schools and I couldn't speak. I was like getting red. I stuttered. I was horrible at speaking. And I think I still have a lot of room to grow and a lot of like getting better in the skill of speaking and explaining something. But it already got so much better just because I did it so much. Go ahead. If you're on my YouTube channel now, just for fun, if you want to see it, go on my videos page, switch the thing from latest to oldest, and you can see my first videos like 2.5 years ago. And you see how horrible I am in podcasting and speaking and asking questions, in just knowing about Bitcoin, in portraying a point or argumentation. It's like so bad. I cringe when I see those videos. And this is my bigger point of, you can get to be a great speaker and educator, or whatever you want to do, but it takes a lot to actually get there, and a lot of exercise and a lot of training, a lot of repetitions. The same way I think that Cherry could, if he really wanted to, learn how to fix things, learn how to like build things. I truly believe that he's smart enough to figure it out. I don't think it's a high value skill for for you to learn, that you need it necessarily. But I strongly believe that if you really want to do, he can figure out. And I'm just right now, actually, I was always a horrible cook, like horrible. I make something, and the only person that wants to eat it is myself. But I'm now trying to cook myself a little bit more, and I try the recipes, I watch videos, and just recently I made something, and I let it, and my wife tasted it, and she's like, "Oh wow, that's so good." Previously, when I was cooking something, or like I was suggesting that I cook something, she's like, "No, I'm gonna cook." No, no, let's go out today. Now she's like, "Yeah, like cook," because I learned the skill of cooking. The same thing you can do with doing a YouTube channel, doing speaking, fixing a lamp, like whatever skill you want to learn. So I don't subscribe to the idea that you're born a certain way and that's who you are. I think you can change things.
Yeah, I agree. That's well put. But also too, you like Donald Trump says this. Um, if you do what you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. But I do believe everyone has is born better at certain things. And again, if you want to do if you, like you said, to mix both of us what we said, if you're not good at something, but you love it, like Robin said, reps and sets and doing it over and over and over again, you can do it. I don't love to fix things. So I don't need to but I do like to talk though. I've always liked to talk as a kid, and I've tried to master that skill. So that's why now, a person that likes to talk, now I have a show with Robin. Me and Robin talked about that. We have a show called the BTC Mastermind. We do that, and it's a panel of us that get together and we talk about Bitcoin. And this is why I suggest other people too, that if you love to talk or love to do what you got to do, get together with some people and try to show people what's going on out here. Teach people, because there's not enough teachers out here. There's not enough examples out here. So again, it's easy to be a millionaire. You are a millionaire if you got a lot of sats, if you got a million sats, and just get out there and get your reps and sets in, and do the best you can, man. Because I'm telling you, the system that we're in, the school system, the Hollywood, the news, and all this other stuff, it's all messed up. You know, we need an outlet. We need a new media, and I believe Bitcoiners, especially, could definitely lead the path for new media and a new way to teach people what's going on out here.
I think Jerry is our new media leader. I love to see it. We are unfortunately already at the end of our time today, but I loved our conversation as always. I hope I have you very soon back on, not just on the masterminds, but also on this podcast. We already did the end routine before, but I'll just imagined another question, just because I was like, it gives me another creative outlet to ask you a question that I would have otherwise not have asked you. And the end routine is usually previous guest is asking a question for the next guest, but now this one is just coming from me, and I'm curious if you can share something on that. What is your most embarrassing Bitcoin story that you were not prepared to share with me today?
Oh man. Okay. I have two of them. One is when I first got into Bitcoin a couple of months in, I sold when Bitcoin was up and silver was down. And I thought, "Oh man, I got it now, man. You know, I'm going to use this Bitcoin thing to increase my silver stack." That's one. And the most recent one, again, and it was so stupid because I ended up selling all my Bitcoin for silver anyway. And the recent one is when I had a do I have it here? I had a cold card, and when all this stuff happened, I had different security measures on it, and every measure that I had kept getting the layers kept getting pulled back because I had an MK4, and he's well, first it's MK3, and then it's maybe MK4, and if you got a passphrase, you're good. Oh no, it's not. And I was like, and I remember sitting there like, with a large portion on that particular thing, and I said, man, I got to move it. and I couldn't get it to work for a little bit, and I was getting scared, and I just had to buckle down, and it took me a couple hours, but I finally got it done. But I realized that my technical skills need to be a little bit better, and it put me in an uncomfortable, embarrassing situation for a guy that's teaching Bitcoin um, to go through that. So that's my two stories, and I'm sticking to them.
I think it's not embarrassing. We have to learn more about Bitcoin. We learn more about self-custody, about how the technical stuff works, because it's important for sovereignty. If we outsource it, someone else will do it for you. But yeah, thank you so much, Jerry, for being on the podcast, for being an advocate for Bitcoin, for being a good friend of mine. And yeah, before I let you go, where can people find you, ask you questions, and reach out to you?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Robin. And you are a good friend of mine as well. You can find me just type in Jerry Loves Freedom on YouTube. You'll find me there. I do a daily show every day at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. It's called Bitcoin Numbers and News. I'm trying to get some normies in there, but it'll be a Bitcoin show, and I give away Satoshis every day, Monday through Friday. And then you can catch me a couple hours later I am the new host of the BTC Mastermind Show, where Robin let me do that. So I'll do that with him.
Forced you into it.
Yeah. And we do that together. We do that Monday through Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific. And then throughout the day, I make live streams, political live streams, and whatever's going on in the news to try to get adoption and try to get new people in. So just go anywhere, Twitter, YouTube, Nostr, whatever, type in Jerry Loves Freedom, and you'll find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry, for being on the podcast. Also, thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.